Hello everybody and welcome back to another Magic the Gathering Arena video. Today I'm looking at the Portal to Hell, so called because we are running 4 of this card, Portal to Phyrexia. For those who haven't seen this card, it is popped up in quite a few different reanimation decks, and that is what we are doing with it here. So it is a 9 costing artifact. When Portal to Phyrexia enters the battlefield, each opponent sacrifices 3 creatures. It's like a one-sided board wipe almost. I mean, 3 is a hell of a lot of creatures. Obviously they'll sacrifice their 3 weakest creatures, but still. At the beginning of your upkeep, put the target creature card from a graveyard, not your own, any graveyard, onto the battlefield under your control. It's a Phyrexian in addition to its other types. So, obviously we make them sack 3 creatures. We can then bring any one of those back next turn as long as the portal is still on our side of the board. But our main use of the portal is to bring back our own creatures, which we will hopefully have put into the graveyard. How are we getting the portal onto the battlefield? That is where the Repair and Recharge and the Invoke Justice come in. Invoke Justice is nothing new. It's return a permanent from your graveyard to the battlefield. It does need 4 white, but we have a hell of a lot of white sources in this deck. But then there's the new Repair and Recharge, which costs 5 as well. Slightly easier mana requirement. Sorcery again, return target artifact, enchantment or planeswalker from your graveyard to the battlefield and create a Power Stone token. So this can get us back the portals to Phyrexia. It can also get us back any of these enchantments that we're running along the way. Note the actual create this tapped Power Stone token can be useful if we're ever trying to hardcast the portal to Phyrexia, as this is an artifact which you can use Power Stones for. So it's not a completely useless ability on this card. We also have some other targets that we are trying to bring back to Sanctuary Wardens. This is the 6 costing 5/5 flyer that comes in with 2 shield counters on it, and when it attacks and enters or attacks, you can remove a counter from any creature or planeswalker you control, and if you do, draw a card and create a 1/1. This is a nice card to bring back because it gives us some draw, it gives us a sticky and hard to remove flyer, and also it can give us some extra little creatures if we're running against black and Invoke Despairs or Lilianas. It gives us some little dogs to sacrifice to those effects. But the main reanimation creature in the deck is the Tyrant of Kher Ridges, and this is because you guys voted for it. And I'm happy you did, because it led me to this deck, and this card has actually been a good one. I'm surprised. I mean, playing the Tyrant, the obvious pairing with the Tyrant is Fable of the Mirrorbreaker, because Fable can copy creatures, and this has a very nice end to the battlefield ability, obviously as does Sanctuary Warden, hence why we're running those 2 with Fable. It's a very nice setup. So the Tyrant is a 6 costing 4/5 flyer, and when it enters the battlefield it deals 4 damage to any target, and then it has this pay red and it gets +1/+0 until end of turn. So what makes Tyrant good in this deck? A is it costs 6 only. I mean, I say only, but it's nowhere near the cost of 9, and so we have a chance of hardcasting this, particularly since we're playing 3 Restoration of Eiganjos, which can ramp us. And we've got lots of card filtering, so we can potentially always find our lands. So we can be playing this as early as turn 5, just as hardcasted, or we can be putting it in our graveyard and bringing it back with the Invoke Justice. Note you can't use Repair and Recharge to bring this back. We can only use Invoke Justice or the Portal to Phyrexia. And the beauty of this card, I guess, with the Fable of the Mirrorbreaker, is that in these sort of Fably reanimated decks, you tend to have a lot of mana floating around. Because the Fable is going to give you the little Goblin Shamans, if the opponent wastes their mana killing those off, they're not going to be able to kill your big things often, because they've only got so many removal spells in their deck. If they don't kill them off, they're going to generate us a bunch of treasures. If they generate us a bunch of treasures, we can turn those treasures into damage to face once we have the Tyrant down. Let's say we play the Fable, we get a Reflection of Kiki Jiki, we can bring back Tyrant from our graveyard, immediately copy it with Fable, that will do 4 damage, which we can do to face if we want. It also gives us a 4/5 flyer with haste, so that is 8 damage to face most of the time, and then we can spend all of our extra red mana to hit face. So we are talking normally between like 8 to 12 damage to face if you end up with both these on the board, which is a hell of a lot. I mean, it's going to close out most games. That's not to mention you've already done 4 when you played your Tyrant in the first place. So this combination is actually really, really damaging, and can close out a lot of games that look unwinnable. It's quite fun for that. On top of this sort of higher end package, we've got a whole bunch of stuff here to be able to put cards into our graveyard. So 4 Fables, this is no surprise in a reanimated deck. Being able to discard 2 and draw 2 is great. We're running Restoration because it lets us find our lands, which smooths our curve out, but it also gives us the opportunity to discard something. If we don't have something we want to discard, we can discard a land and use it to ramp into flat hard casting these spells, and then obviously we get this 3/4, which isn't particularly useful in our deck, but hey, a free 3/4 we're never going to complain about. I'm actually running 4 of the Elder Dragon War. This card has grown on me a lot, particularly in this type of deck where we're not running any cheap creatures ourselves apart from the dudes that come out of Fable. It deals 2 damage to each creature and each opponent, so that is our own creatures and our opponent's creatures, but given there is quite a bit of aggro going around at the moment, there's soldiers, there's mono black aggro, there's mono red aggro, this 2 damage to each creature is actually really nice on turn 4. It can just be about the perfect time to clear out a lot of creatures. And then the second chapter, discard any number of cards, is obviously great for us because we can put anything expensive that we can't afford into the graveyard, and we draw a whole bunch of more stuff, which hopefully, one of which will be a reanimation spell to get that back and set us up for a nice turn 5. And then the third chapter, great 4/4 dragon with flying, is very nice. Yeah, a 4/4 dragon is good, little end to all those useful first and second chapters. Our 2-drops are kind of facilitators for getting to play with all these nice fun cards. 3 Soul Partitions, I mean, this is a famous card for being able to buy you time because it basically delays the cost of something for the opponent, or makes it cost more to get it back. So if we use this on their Sheldred, or even on like a Tenacious Underdog, or anything like that, it feels so painful for them to have to recast it for 2 more, and then it sets them back so far in tempo that hopefully by the time they get it back we'll have deployed some of our big boys. We're running 3 Cathartic Pyre, which isn't a card you see every day. This does 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker, and then you discard up to 2 and draw, or you can discard up to 2, then draw that many. So if there isn't anything that we need to remove, we have this nice option of being able to keep filtering our stuff into our graveyard. The nice thing about Cathartic Pyre in this deck is that if we pair it with the Elder Dragon War, for example, we can do 2 damage to each creature and then 3 to one of them, so we can kill off a Sheldred or something with 5 toughness that way. So it gives us that kind of ability to pick off larger creatures if the Elder Dragon War isn't going to complete the job, but note we will need 6 mana to be able to do that. And then 1 Destroy Evil. This is to remove the Sheldreds and etc., or to be able to remove enchantments. We don't have huge amount of enchantment or artifact removal in this deck, so there's a little testament to us being able to remove the opponent's Fables or the opponent's, whatever. But sometimes they're playing the the enchantment deck with all the enchantments that remove your stuff. If we've got the ability, it's a little bit of flexibility to remove those. That's nice. Note, Soul Partition can remove non-lands, so if in a case where, for example, we manage to get the Tyrant down, or we manage to get the Portal to Phyrexia down, if the opponent uses an Oblivion Ring style effect on either of these, we can exile the Oblivion Ring. Sure, they can recast it, but we'll have got our 4 damage back, or force them to sack 3 creatures again. So because of the strong end to the battlefield abilities on these cards, that sort of buffs the Soul Partition, particularly nice against things like the Oblivion Ring effects or Brutal Cathars or anything where they're putting our permanents behind their permanents. This does very well against. So we're running 26 lands in the deck. As you can see, I'm running 4 Jetmir's Garden, even though we're not touching green, just because it gives us extra white and red sources. I'm only running 2 Battlefield Forges because I've only got 2. I'm not willing to convert 2 rare wildcards into 2 more of those, but to be honest, it's not really holding the deck back. I have struggled to hit my mana in 1 or 2 games, but it's not really that common, because we've got so much card filtering with the Fable. We can search up planes with the Restoration, and we've got card filtering again with the Elder Dragon War or Cathartic Pyre. We typically can force our deck to give us the lands we need, so I haven't found the mana base causing me too many problems. But yeah, other than that, I haven't yet built a sideboard for this. Typically, Reanimation decks aren't wonderful in best of 3 because there is a lot of easy graveyard hate, things like Unlicensed Hearse, that can go in any colour deck and can make graveyard sort of based decks very difficult to play in best of 3. So this is kind of a best of 1 deck only, to be honest. But anyway, let's have some games and see how it goes. Okie doke. Here we go. Rings. Yeah, that's a nice hand as long as we get one more land, but we're running 26, 27, so we should easily. Can't even remember which one that is. That Riveteers? No, maybe. And we can discard 2 and draw 2. As long as there's nothing incredibly important. Soul Partition. Soldiers. I'm a soldier. Don't you counter that? Goodness. No, 11 cards and no third land with 27. That is impressive level of joke. We're now at 51% chance per card to draw a land. No. Thank goodness. That was a joke I did not wish to continue hearing. So, we've got a Warden to get back. So we just wait and block and hope for a land. That'll do. Could get the Tyrant back instead, actually. Get rid of the Veteran. Like so. I'm sure they'll have a brutal Kher for the Tyrant, but that's the nice thing, it sort of does its job on entry. We're not low enough that they can finish us with a, not an ultimate, whatever you want to call it from this. But okay, and get our Tyrant back at instant speed. That is pretty nice. It's looking alright. I mean, we're slightly low on the old health, but if we get our Tyrant back, kill this Kher, get the reflection back, it's gonna be happy days. GG. Got some quite good blocks now. Go as far as saying perfect blocks. Oh, that is so brutal. Sorry, soldiers. Let's go again. Next game. Kelung. Yeah, would like a 2-drop, but we're not running loads, are we? There's only 6 in the deck. Ah, there is one of them. 6 in the deck should still mean we get 1 each starting hand on average-ish. Yeah, not so useful anymore. This costs 10 now. I don't think we're going to be hard casting it. Yeah, big stack of soldiers. So I think do we kill the Veteran now so that we can kill the rest with the Elder Dragon War in 2 turns? Nah, we kill the Thalia, I think. so that we can Elder Dragon Warden next turn. Even if they get 1/1s out of it, it's still a pretty good deal. Too much in this deck that Thalia fucks with, to be honest. That is fine. So now we have to kill the veteran, because otherwise we can't clean up next turn with Elder Dragon War anyway. So let's do that, reduce our damage now, and then we'll just Fable next turn and hope to hold on. That is okay, as long as we can block. So 7, 9, 11. So if they Cathar this token, we're dead. Oh man, the Elder Dragon War is going to be so good. They are going to get a load of 1/1s though, and we are going to be nearly dead, so I think we might actually still be dead, but we'll have the fun of board wiping them first. So we're going to go to 4, and they're going to get 5 tokens. So we're going to lose this one. That is a big shame. This combination is pretty much the worst for us because it's anti-board wipe and anti, spells. No, GG. It wasn't even as good as I thought. Okay, we got punked by soldiers that time, but they did have the perfect start against us, and we're on the draw, so we'll go again. Alright, this one's against Julio 33. This is a bit expensive. This is better. Kind of need everything in the hand though, so we're going to have to draw some more lands, but we will with Fable. Just hope Fable doesn't get countered and we're good. Got a backup. Can you find me a creature to put in the bin as well as the portal? That would be great. Alright, chance of getting Fable counter gone to 0. So we could, in theory, have our portal to Phyrexia down next turn. If our little goblin is able to get an attack in. Probably not then. They might make us discard, that would be pleasant. It's a shame. Let's get rid of these two like this. Just play another Fable, I think. Alright. One more portal to Phyrexia in the bin. Yeah. It's not going to stop what's happening to you there, slaughtering that little dude. So we can only discard one of these safely, because we need at least one land to repair and recharge. We could use the other one, but never mind. That is enough. GG. Let's try again. Alright. LVO5. Keep. Opponent mulliganing. This has got everything we need in the recipe, so I'm thinking maybe we need one fewer Eiganjo, because we don't actually have any good 2-drops to bring back. So one fewer of those. Although it is sort of the perfect card, and now we've got redundancy. I mean, they could take the repair and recharge, would be a good thing for them to do. But with either of these, we get to the Warden quick enough anyway. Whatever they took, we were going to draw. Underdog. So I think... yeah, we'll use the Eiganjo. We've only got one thing we want to put in the graveyard, and we guarantee ourselves a land drop next turn this way. Okay, got our land anyway, so we can use that one to ramp. And we can discard the Warden next turn. So keep it in our hand until we have to put it in the graveyard, just in case they have a Trespasser or, you know, any other various things that get stuff out of your graveyard. Mishra deck by the looks of it. I'll probably trade off the goblins here because we don't need ours. Save some damage. Annoying, but we'll get rid of the Eiganjo because we need to the other one to discard our Warden. Although we could just play the Warden now. Feels a bit silly. We'll do this. Oh, what am I doing? This one. I was like, what? There we go. Be interesting to see if we can win a game where we don't draw any of the or don't pull off the reanimation, and we just have to use Fable and the Tyrant, or Fable and the Warden to win. Still think I still fancy our chances a little bit. Thank God we got that little dude. So we could bring back. Fine, one of our shield counters, but that's perfectly fine. I think we will put the Tyrant in, get rid of the reflection just in case anything bad is going down. We'll take a 1/1, and then we've got these repair and recharges if we need them, but at the moment we, yeah, I was about to say we're presenting lethal. We still are now. If Grasp is there any removal for the Tyrant, it's still lethal. GG. Next game. Arbizzle. Yeah, this is a good hand. We seem to be fairly consistently drawing the things we need because there's a lot of redundancy in the what we're trying to do, because we've got Restoration and Fable for cycling stuff plus Cathartic Pyre. Then we've got Pyre and Soul Partition to buy us time, though we didn't draw either this time, and then we've got Repair and Recharge and Invoke Justice for bringing stuff back, as well as obviously the portal. It just feels like every card is doing multiple functions in this deck, which is nice. Okay. Restoration. I think we might have to put the portal into the graveyard next turn rather than ramping, if our restoration lives, which it probably will, unless they've got the one that makes you sack an enchantment. Okay, yeah, paying to level up the sleeper. Got to take a bit more damage. We've got the partition to avoid any particular bad news. So we'll just pass. See if there is any particular bad news coming. That isn't too bad a news. We can get rid of the sleeper. That's what's going to... Oh, it is, because it's going to get rid of the portal. That is actually very bad news, but not that Soul Partition can help with. Unfortunately. Never know, might take the Soul Partition. Shame. Okay, so I might have to do what I said and win without the reanimation strategy, because nothing to reanimate, but we have got the Tyrants to kill the Glutton. Although once we put the Tyrant in, Invoke Despair becomes pretty vicious for us. The thing is, you actually see far fewer trespassers these days, which is, you know, quite a nice thing. But when you do see them, this deck gets a right beating. Alright, so put a Tyrant in, target this, discard our land, I think. Don't really need that extra land. Now, that any form of forcing me to sack is bad. Liliana, Invoke Despair, or just Bloodline Culling, I suppose. But we'll keep going. One, two, three, four, five, six. I need a way of putting this in our graveyard, please. Yeah, this could get painful. Okay, that can bring me back the other Tyrant. So let's do it before we play, before we attack. Then I'll probably split these evenly. Do that damage to face. Get in like that. Could have done one more, but it's not going to change anything now. So Invoke Despair would kill this, do us 4, we'll be on 5. We would die to Invoke Despair. Thankfully they don't have the land. We do not die to Liliana. Even if they attack now, I wouldn't block because we have lethal in the air. Good game. It was close. The Trespasser caused us some problems, but we've proven that we can win without the reanimation happening. Let's try again. Alright. Excess power. Having pretty good success so far with this one. I think we can keep. Depends, if we get smashed with a real fast deck, we're going to be in trouble. You can hear the Chinooks going past my house. Don't know if you can hear that on the video, but if you can, there's a RAF, it's a flying military base quite close to my house, so we get quite a bit of helicopter noise. Did never last very long though. It's probably just mono blue, so it's going to be Haughty Djinn type situation. Gotta hope that our Fable resolves, and we've got 2 of them, but the problem with against mono blue is often the counter spells are affluent. Straight in with the Djinn. Bold. We don't actually have any good point removal really for the Djinn. But at least we know they don't have any removal from our graveyard. Okay. Stick both these in there. So we've got the Invoke Justice this turn. If we attack, get a treasure, try and bring back the portal, but we're playing into a ton of open mana with a Djinn on the board, so it would feel silly, I would say, to try and bring the portal back. What we want to do is try and bait out some counter spells. Fables people normally see as quite a good target. If we can bait 2 out, that's even better. You telling me you didn't have any more counters? They didn't realise the spell pierce wasn't going to work? Or I've been baited into using my treasure and now they're going to bounce the goblin and we can't afford Invoke Justice. Both goblins, and we won't draw any lands. I'm not sure what the plan is. Okay, Terror Army. If we get the portal, then it won't matter how many terrors you got. So, I think we're going to ditch this, because it's not really any good for us. And we'll ditch this Fable. What I want it to find, really, is another reanimation spell. The fact that they did not counter that again. So, just thinking out loud, they could have Make Disappear as their counter. If they do, attacking with both of these would give us 2 treasures. I mean, we're suiciding them. But we can afford to pay for Make Disappear, although they would just sack a Terror. Probably. Because it's worth countering the Invoke Justice. So that isn't an amazing play. We're not really playing around a lot. If it's a Spell Pierce, we only need to attack with 1. So that is what we'll do. Oh no, Spell Pierce we still need to attack with 2. Because it's pay 2. Yeah, okay. We're gonna send in these goblins and then just hope for no negates. You never know. If there's a negate, we just lose. If I Make Disappear, I'll still be alive because they'll have to sack one of the terrors and we can block the other one with the reflection, unless they have a phase out or a bounce. Maybe they got 2 Make Disappears, in which case we still lose. They do not. Goodbye. That's gonna suck. I guess they could phase 1 out. Yeah. Can they cast another spell? Then they get up to 11? No. That is curious, isn't it? So what that does mean, though, is that our Tyrant can no longer kill the Djinn. That land, not much point playing. So, it'll work as a blocker if they don't have a way of phasing it out, bouncing it. But I'm not sure. Just a terror. We have to block, obviously, but we can get the Tyrant back from our own graveyard now. We can target, so hold on, if we target them, they'll be on 10, we'll then get a hasted Tyrant, which we can only buff twice, which would only do 6 more, so let's just kill the Djinn. And we can get back another portal to Phyrexia anyway. 1 life. GG. Next game. The lack of red makes me concerned. I deserve that. You're gonna have to keep something, because the whole problem is you need enough cards for the stack to work. You need something to put in the graveyard, you need something to put it in the graveyard, and you need something to get you there. And you need enough lands to do all that. So if you mulligan too low, it's never gonna work. No. Come on, don't do this to me. Don't do it to me, game. I'm gonna get a land now. It's gonna be a red one. Come on. Come on. Alright. Alright. Well, that's bad. Okay. That's pretty bad. We've got nothing to get back. We're gonna start getting smacked by Sheldred. And they're going to start drawing more cards to F us with. Basically, we've got 1 turn. I don't even know what we could draw that would work. I guess I deserved that. Didn't. I mean, we mulliganed once. I could have mulliganed once more, maybe, but oh well. Easy come, easy go. And again, a little bit luckier with the land this time, maybe. Against KT. This is a good hand. We just need to draw a way of resurrecting the portal, but yeah, don't mind that much having our stuff discarded. Please choose the portal. Do my job for me. Shame. Oh, hello, Magic the Gathering. Hello. Good. Top work. Wizards of the Coast playing a land was too much for the game to handle. We're just firing it back up. Trying to put a triome on the battlefield was a lot to ask for. And we are nearly back. Did the land make it? No. We're just timing it out. Sorry, Katie. Wasn't intentional. Alright. We'll keep chucking these in tap. We'll use that one as a cycle. So yeah, okay. We can't allow that to be here, I'm afraid. It's not looking wonderful, but what is this little discard main deck duress thing going on there? Really? Ditching the Trespasser, even though it's obvious what this deck is doing. Do you find that curious? Ugh. Okay. Could cycle the garden, but this isn't the best. I mean, this is what I would expect to happen more often. It's just that we have been so surprisingly reliable. I mean, I've basically seen the Elder Dragon War during this video 0 times, right? Bang, bang, bang. Eiganjo. Alright. Oh, there's one more plane's not in the deck. Hey, we just need one of our many ways of bringing stuff back. Although they got infinite reflections to sack to the portal, which is, if they realise what they're doing, they could actually make this useless. Just got to hold open 3 mana each turn. And then we basically get effed. Give me a chance. If we manage to top deck a revival spell, well, there's a 13% chance of that happening, then, oh come on, nope, that's no good anymore. So this has just been too slow, hasn't it? It's one of those, yeah. No, nothing. Alright, GG. Okay. Just made the smallest tweak to the deck to remove 1 planes and add 1 Destroy Evil, which is the card that removes a creature with toughness greater than 4 or an enchantment. Just think a little bit extra removal, a tiniest touch extra, will go down well. And we probably don't need the 27 lands just because of all the cycling we've got. We're very, very likely to hit our land drops anyway. And the restorations, find us lands, you know, there's plenty of ways to get the lands. That's the card. So I'm going to Dragon War and discard 2, 3 of these maybe. As we need to find something. And a hand of land ain't the thing we want to find. We can repair and recharge for a restoration if we get another untapped land, or we can just Dragon War. At least we've got a 4/4 to play with. I reckon we just Dragon War again. Keep digging for what we want. There's a Tyrant. Had to go quite deep in our deck to find one, but let's see what our opponent is up to then now. 2 4/4s, so I'm loath to commit too much more to the board just because. Okay, now I've only got 1. Let's bring back the Eiganjo, shall we? No, let's just Fable. Still enough on the board that they probably want to do something. There we go. Okay. So we can remove the Denic. And attack. That puts us up to 7 mana available. So we're getting to the point where we can nearly hard cast the portal if we draw one. I mean, we're 19 cards in and we haven't seen one. 4 in the deck, but if this was Invoke Despair, you'd have a whole fleet of them by now. Ooh. I don't really want to commit that to the board now. It's quite annoying because it's not quite lethal. 10, and we would have had to use all, but yeah, the most we could have done was 2, and yeah, there's odds are there's some combat trick, which there is. That's fine. I was going to use the Elder Dragon War to kill it off anyway, but I might just get a Fable back. So we've got, yeah, 6 with a 9, so we can afford a portal to Phyrexia if we draw one. But we've also got 8 in the air with the Tyrant +1 from the Shaman, +2 here. I've actually got lethal in the air. Yeah, GG. Alright, quick look at the stats of this deck. So, played 12 games with it at the moment and 67% win rate. So, 2/3 is a pretty good win rate. As you can see, I've been messing around with all sorts, and this is the one that's had a good upward trajectory for me. What are we doing well against? We're doing well against monocoloured things. It's not too surprising. We haven't really got a large enough sample size to sort of give an accurate representation. Struggling against things with blue in isn't that surprising. I would expect blue-based decks or blue and black-based decks to be the most problems for us, because countering the things that bring back our big things, or just countering the big things, is always going to cause problems. It's always the case when you've got expensive cards. Playing against blue can be hard, although we did win our one game against mono blue. And then playing against black decks, because they have access to Graveyard Trespasser, unfortunately it does appear in a lot of black decks, and being able to exile stuff repeatedly from our graveyard can be painful. Although, as you saw, we did manage to overcome mono black. So, yeah, I think this deck is actually a really, really reliable deck in best of one. Again, I don't think this is fantastic in best of 3, just due to the unlicensed hearse being available as a sideboard card still. But I reckon this is going to achieve a solid like 70% if I learn to mulligan a bit better. I think you need to make sure we always have at least one red source for those fables. Even if you don't start with a fable in your hand, I think you need both colours. Could potentially even do without white more than red, but anyway, I think knowing when to mulligan is kind of key with this deck. But obviously, you know, you can't go down too low in cards, as I was saying during the video, because you need to be able to both put stuff in the graveyard, have something to put in the graveyard, and have something that's going to help you get there, really. So yeah, I think it's a really fun deck. I think it's got a lot of legs. I think it will always have a positive win rate. I don't think it's particularly difficult to play. I had to think quite a lot against the mono blue deck in the video, but in general, it's a relatively easy ladder climber. So I recommend giving it a go if you're struggling to get some wins under your belt this season. But thank you very, very much for watching. I do appreciate those who watch the video and those who vote for which deck I should build next. Since the Tyrant of Kher Ridges and the Yotian Dissident were drawing, I did the Tyrant first. I think I'll go back and finish off a Dissident deck now. I was having slightly more trouble making a competitive one with that in, but there's definitely a green-white artifacts deck out there that can do something. It's just how much it can do. So I'll go away and get to that, and you guys get to hitting the like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.